following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations.
Tonight, we discuss the new developments surrounding the Broadcasting Authority Bill. With electronic media's widespread presence in our daily lives, the regulation of such entities may prove to be vital. But what does this spell out for media freedom in Sri Lanka? And what new measures and penalties does the bill introduce? A very good evening to everyone joining us on Law, Land and Liberty on yet another episode tonight. Now, tonight we have for you a topic that I'm sure a lot of us may have thought about with the recent developments in the field, and that is about the Broadcasting Authority Bill. Now, media is an integral part of all of our lives. You're watching us right now through a screen. So, Broadcasting Authority Bill that has been coming into contention the past few months has really been a topic of discussion in the legal sphere. But where, as laymen, we don't really have a complete understanding of how this bill is going to go about and change things in this sphere. And to speak about the Broadcasting Authority Bill, we have a very notable figure in the field, and that is Mr. Viranjana, Herath, attorney at law. Thank you very much, sir, for taking the time to speak to our viewers and to enlighten our viewers on exactly how the Broadcast Authority Bill functions. Now, before we get into the discussion, let me give you a very short breakdown on exactly how the discussion is going to go. First, we'll be talking about the fundamentals of the bill. So what the bill entails, what are the salient features, and what we really need to know, the very basics. Next, we'll be talking about the practical aspects, the practicality of the bill, how it approaches enforcement and penalties, and what is in store when it comes to the practical aspects, the logistical aspects, and how the court is involved. And finally, we'll be talking about reforms and the future. So what is missing in the bill and exactly what we can expect in the future of broadcasting regulation.
Hello, my name is Viranjana De Silva and I am an international relations student. My question is on the new Broadcasting Authority Bill. What are the salient features of the new bill and how does it differ from existing regulations?
All right, well, without further ado, let's get right into the discussion. Once again, thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak to us. Now, without beating around the bush, I feel like a lot of us would really like to know what exactly entails the Broadcasting Authority Bill. It sounds very vague to a lot of us. So if you could explain to us, sir, what are these core features that the bill entails?
Yeah, actually, Anuradhi, the thing is that, in the broadcasting scenario in Sri Lanka is a bit different. I mean that the media scenario, if we get through the media, that there are some regulations on print media, but in the broadcasting media, especially in the electronic media, they don't have any kind of regulation authorities. I mean that we have authority, that they have some kind of authority and then some kind of legal instruments, but there is no clear legal instrument, I mean that act or a very clear regulation system to regulate on broadcasting media. That is the main system here. So because in that backdrop, government recently introduced this bill. Actually, name is very clear. It says Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Act. It means that it is for the commission. It means there is a commission going to be established under this bill. This is the main pitch of that one. There is no commission to regulate broadcasting media currently. So government is going to introduce a new broadcasting commission to regulate on broadcasting media by this bill. This is the main pitch of this bill. It's the name of the bill too, right? If we are going further, then we know that there is worldwide, we can see so many systems like this, regulatory commissions and some kind of government instrument to control this kind of. In this case, in Sri Lanka, the licensing scenario, that offering license into the broadcasters is a bit different. I mean that, frankly speaking, we don't have any system for that one. There is no transparent system. There is no uniformity for that one. So because of that, from 1980s, end of 1980s, we started the private media station system. Then we introduced it's kind of it's totally handled by the government. In this act, it is totally going to control by this commission. This is the new thing. To fill that gap, they introduce kind of a issuing licensing power, and then suspend the license. Also, we can see that there are some kind of banning system, some kind of a censorship. There are so many things introduced by this bill for regulate under the commission system. So this is another feature for that one. We can go further. Then it means that actually previously I mentioned this is a kind of a spectrum regulation. In broadcasting media, we can see there are two parts. One is spectrum regulation, other one is content regulation. Spectrum means that whatever waves you are missing, that now your channel and some other channels, even the radio broadcasters, TV broadcasters, they have their own spectrum. So they generally use that distributing spectrum. It is the common recognition is it is a public property handled by the government to offer that spectrums offer to some kind of investors to provide broadcasting, the established broadcasting institutions. That's the scenario. But it is not regulated by this commission. It's going to be regulated in the systematic manner. So apart of that, in this bill, they also going to introduce kind of a system to regulate contents. Because in Sri Lanka, till now, till the date, we don't have any system to regulate content in the broadcasting media. There are systems to the print media, also mainly print media. So in this bill, they are going to try to introduce that kind of a system to content regulation. So these the three kind of features there. Furthermore, under that, they are going to under this bill, the government is planning to do introduce some kind of ethical systems, ethical guidelines, codes. It means that it would be the ethical, or I don't know whether what is the correct name they are going to use. But anyhow, they are going to make some kind of a code. Maybe it is ethical code. Such kind of a code they are going to introduce. They said that the commission have the authority to create such kind of a ethical code. So it means that they are also trying to establish some kind of ethical codes against broadcasting media, on broadcasting media. It is another feature of that one. These are some kind of things, but going further, we can see now in Sri Lanka we don't have a system to regulate if some kind of transparent system for the violations of the licensing conditions and other things. They are going to establish a mechanism to investigate that kind of things. Apart of that, in that scenario, they also try to introduce some kind of penalties for that one. This is new thing to broadcasting media. Whatever we have, we don't have any penalties or any fines in this one. But in this bill, they are going to introduce that kind of things. These are the basic features. Basically, are going to introduce a commission, then a regulate system, both spectrum to the and spectrum also to content regulation. Apart of that, they are going to introduce investigation system. The system is also includes with some kind of penalties, fines and other things. That is a basic structure of this bill.
I think it's very important for me to pick on a little bit of what you said in the last bit right there, sir. When you mentioned the central regulation, the establishing of a commission and also the regulation of broadcasting, could you just delve a little bit deeper into how exactly the bill plans to set up such a commission and how it plans to set up a central regulation authority for broadcasting?
Yes, it's a very good question. Now there is no systematic way to regulate broadcasting media in Sri Lanka. So if you suppose you are going to establish a broadcasting institution, you have to go to two institutions for the obtaining license. You have to go to Mass Media Ministry, also the TRC, Telecommunication Regulation Commission. You have to go to both one. But under this new bill, they are going to establish one authority for both. But it is not clear how they are going to establish this one. It is actually, it is a very, by the way, if we are watching this one, then from top, it is a very good aspect because we have to go to only one place. But it is not clear how they are going to establish this thing. This is the loophole of that one. Anyhow, they are going to establish a new authority, the new commission for that one. The thing is that it is good. We can see that it is good. But the problem is that this is not an independent commission. This is just a commission appointed by the president. That 5-member commission, 2 members are officials, one is chairman of the TRC, the other one is secretary to the media ministry. The other 3 experts, it's appointed by the president. But all are, but we know that, 2 people, that government officers. The other 3 experts from the, anyhow they experts, but selection done by the president. So it is totally a commission appointed by the president. So the other thing is that in English draft, English bill, they said that this 5 people, that 3 people, actually the 5 is officials, the other 3 is appointed by the president approved from the Constitution Council. They have the 3 appointment should approved by the president. But in Single Act, it is not saying anything. I don't know whether translator means it or not, but anyhow it is not mentioned in the Single Act. So it means that, but as in the legal scenario, that Single Act is the authoritative document. So it means that it is just approved by the president. So the other one, the removal part, it is also the same. President can remove any commissioner with the informing to the commission, informing to the Constitutional Commission. That said that in the English one.
So it is not approval review by the commission, but just informing, and then
just informing. That's the word. But in Single Act also, in Single Bill also the same. There is nothing. It's silence. So it is very clear that this is a President's Commission. So we can say this is now it is clear. There is uncertainty. There is no uniformity. It is very unclear way the broadcasting regulation. But so it is good to establish such a commission. But the thing is that this is totally going to control by the president. It's by the one hand, because if one commissioner want to stay in the commission, he has to obey to the president's interest or anything whatever president says. That's the reality.
Of course, and there is a lot more to speak about that, but I think we should retouch that subject specifically in the third segment.
Yes.
But I'd like to really know, sir, now when it comes to the legal aspects of the bill where involving the courts is coming into question, how exactly does the bill go about? Now we saw that the Commission has a little bit of disparity. Even within its bills, the translations itself, there is a disparity. So is there disparity there as well when it comes to, is it clear how the courts are involved, or is it still under process of being constructed?
So, as per my knowledge, this is still in the drafting process. They are not, we cannot say it is even the bill, completed bill. We know that any law is going to be established, it should be consulted with the other parts. I mean that all relevant stakeholders, even if we are going to draft a constitution, it is we are discussing with the people and every society, all kind of people in the society. We have to take the different ideas. But in here, it is a very specific case. This is because that this is the part of the freedom of speech and expression. This is one of the most important fundamental right in the constitution in the Sri Lanka. Not only the Sri Lankan aspects, in the international law scenario also. So, but in here, we know that if you are someone going to regulate media, there should be discussion with all relevant stakeholders, media organizations, journalists, or civil society members. But in here, after they drafting this thing, they just call to the media owners and other people to just, we drafted this kind of a bill. What is your idea? So that's why I read that so many Broadcasting Authority, Broadcasters Guild and others, so many people said that this is not a kind of a way to follow. So this is the way, but I think this is, to my opinion, this is my opinion. There are so many comparatives with there are some issues with the constitution, because right to thought, we have known that Article 10 of our constitution, also Article 14 of the constitution is the freedom of speech and expression. As per my knowledge, this bill, if we going as it is, we can take this. This is totally going against the constitution. That's my opinion.
I see. So there are some things to come into think of and get into consideration before actually enacting such a bill. But sir, now a little bit of a topic, a point of curiosity. Now, when it comes to the differences between this bill and the existing legislature, you did touch on it a little bit in the beginning of this segment, but if you could specify to us some other areas where we see that the bill is addressing areas that is not already addressed in currently existing legislature, sir.
Yes, it is very clear. We don't have a specific law to regulate broadcasting, but we have some laws. Now, TRC is the authority under 1996, as per my knowledge, 1996, it is a TRC Act. Under that, spectrum distribution is regulated, but the television channels is totally handled by the Rupayani Corporation Act, SLRC Act. It is 1982, yes, 1982. Then another act, 1966, Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation Act. Under that act regulated the radio stations. This is the main legal scenario relating to the broadcasting, regulating the broadcasting system. But in Sri Lanka, the thing is that, but the issue is that it is also there are so many jokes, frankly speaking, we can say it is jokes, because there is no uniform. Some television stations got license, their license condition sheet is only one sheet. Some stations, it is more than a big 50 pages. So this is not a, we have to understand this is a very interesting and very important area to in the country, not only the Sri Lanka but also in any country. So there is no uniformity. So we should have some kind of a system, but the issue is the current system, the three acts, three laws we can see the mainly, but the issue is these three laws also have not been used very properly. There are so many ambiguity in between while using these laws. So this should be addressed, but my opinion is, but the way address the issue is not this bill.
I see. So there is a lot for us to reform, I guess, when it comes to the current media regulations and broadcasting. But just before we go into a break, sir, you mentioned something about how there is no consistency when it comes to considering the Constitution. Could you please just explain further on that aspect, how this bill is not in line with certain constitutional aspects?
Yes. If, for an example, this is totally handled by the President. The commission is going to be appointed by the President. So it means that right to freedom of speech and expression is going to be controlled in some manner. It's a pre-censorship kind of a thing. We know that if a country has a good scenario regarding to freedom of speech and expression, pre-censorship should not be there. It is not only related to freedom of speech and expression, it's related to freedom of thought also, because the expression is the kind of a very clear relationship with the thought process and conscience. So in this backdrop, the commissioners who are going to work in this commission should have to work under the agenda of the President. Because if they want to stay in the positions, they have to work under that agenda. So in that scenario, we can clearly see that the commissioners are not independent. They are not going to do the independent work. So then commissioners become a kind of a gatekeepers on broadcasting stations. They are going to they are going to make some kind of work as a kind of a gatekeepers, whatever broadcasting by your organizations. So in this manner, I think this is totally against with the Article 14 and Article 10.
Well, right before we get into any of the other areas of where the discrepancies lie and also further into exactly what aspects can be spoken about in this discussion, let's go in for a very short commercial break. You're watching Law, Land and Liberty. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Sahan Samalidho Patrana and I'm an engineering student, and my question is on practicality. How does the bill approach the aspects of penalties and enforcement?
Welcome back to Law, Land and Liberty. We were in conversation with Mr. Viranjana Herath, attorney at law. Now, we were talking about the basic features and the salient features of the Broadcasting Authority Bill. And we got a lot of content covered there. But I think we should probably get into the practicality aspects. We did touch a little bit on it before we went into the break, but I think we should go a little bit in depth when it comes to this specific scenario. And that is, now, there's a lot of talk about the media freedom aspect when it comes to the bill as well. If you could tell us what is mentioned in the bill in itself, how does the bill plan to handle the media freedom aspect of their argument?
Yes, actually in that bill we can see under the objective of the commission, I mean that there is a bill, it is that section, that bill section 5 said that objective of the commission, why the commission is going to be established. Under that they say that ensure that broadcasting services shall provide people true and accurate information. Also it says that right to freedom of speech and expression, including publication in respect to broadcasting services as guaranteed by Article 14 of the Constitution. It means that the bill itself says this is pro ensure right to information of the public, also ensure freedom of speech and expression of the public. But after that, these two is okay. It's okay. It's very, 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 very interesting, and we can say it is very interesting wordings. Also, this very interesting approach. It is okay. But the thing is that after that, they mentioned that issuing and licensing for broadcasting services is transparent and impartial names. It is okay because in Sri Lanka, as per I said that issuing and the offering broadcasting licenses in existing scenario is some kind of ambiguity. So because of that, we need some kind of a good aspect. This is also good. But apart of that, after that, the objective itself says regulate electronic broadcasting services in such entities. Then it said preventing abuse of power by the broadcasters. How we know that in the legal context we can see abuse of power. What are the interpretation for that? Who is broadcasters is going to abuse their power? It is happening. It's a question to me. There would be some kind of abusing power, but that kind of what are the objectives, that kind of things. So this kind of lines I am seeing, this kind of thing, it is threat of media freedom. So bill itself says it is for the freedom of speech and expression, it is for the right to information of the people. But again, there are some kind of controversial sections in the bill. So it also said that it is guideline to respect of broadcasting. It is also said that if there are something going to be against national security, public order, also the national economy. So how is going to be interpret this kind of words? It is very difficult to interpret what are the national interest, what are the national security, what are the national economic interest. If your channel broadcast something like that, there were so many issues, there were so many researchers in these days. I saw recently, people are selling their furniture to buy essentials. That kind of a research I read somewhere. That kind of a news, if you are going to publish, the authority can say it is not true. It is against the economic security of the country. Okay, economic stability of the country, national economy of the country. So, in that purpose, the provisions, these are the objectives. There are some provisions in the bill. The commission, the proposed commission, under the provision, there is a committee also going to be established. The committee can do investigations by itself. They can initiate their own investigations. Apart of that, if someone is going to complain, they can also do that. If such a news you broadcasted, then suppose someone going to complain, or the committee can initiate investigation process. Then they said that government authorities said this is not true. So then say that you should, this is a false news. So the publishing false news, broadcasting false news is also violations the conditions of the licenses under this bill. So in that kind of things happen, the commission have to power suspend your license or ban your channel. Or, what it is a totally against the media freedom. That's why I am saying that this is some kind of a bill not should be there, because there is a issue. I'm keep telling this thing. There is a issue on regulate broadcasting media, but this is not the solution. This is totally against media freedom of the country. There are so many aspects. This is only one example I am giving. I can provide many other examples from this bill that against the media freedom.
Yeah, and diving deeper into this issue, sir, now when it comes to media freedom, there's the point of ethics in media being brought up as well. If you could just diving deeper into your initial points, how does the bill approach the entire ethics in broadcasting and media? Does the bill mention anything?
Yes. Under this bill, minister shall establish ethics. Minister has the power to establish an ethical code. Ethical code means that it is a kind of a regulations. He has the power to make regulations. The regulations he can include ethical code or the ethical system. But the thing is that there is no. It's not clearly mentioned here what are the way it has to be done. But generally, minister can make regulations to build an ethical code. That is the only set they are saying that. That is the only aspect they are saying regarding this. But in the act, they said that they are considering about some cultural aspects, some kind of moral aspects. That words are here. So moral, cultural, who is going to be who is going to be make this ethical code? This is also questions, because it is not a one hand thing. The whole bill is one hand thing. It is drafting and without any consultation with the stakeholders. So if that ethical code is going to create like this, then it should be also an issue. I accept your point. We need some kind of a strong ethical code to regulate on broadcasting media, because it is a criticism. The people are saying that we don't, our rights are violated by the media. There are so many examples also. We have to accept that fact, because some medias, they have their political agendas. Some broadcasting medias, they have their own maybe business agendas. We cannot reject that facts. So also there are privacy issues. So many people are saying that even the COVID during the COVID time, the people have a huge criticism against the media. They are showing our faces, that COVID patients are saying that kind of blames against media. But the thing is that there should be something for some ethical code. But creating an ethical code, establishing an ethical code should be the way follow for that one should be a very vague and the very holistic approach we have to follow for that one. That is the way. This is not the way.
Exactly, and there is especially when it comes to the practical aspects, we have a lot of discussion on the existence of the bill, but I haven't seen a lot of talk regarding the penalties aspect. Now I'm sure the penalties, you wanted to speak about it in the first segment as well, but we had to push it to this segment. So sir, if you could explain to us further now, how does the bill approach the penalties aspect? Now we spoke about the media freedom and ethics, so what is the practical restorative measure that they have mentioned with the penalties?
Yes. Before that, I am just saying that I have to explain what are the inquiry system in this established under this bill. The proposed inquiry system is there is a committee. The commission have another director general. Then with him and another two experts, they have some kind of a committee. They are going to establish a committee under the commission. The committee can initiate their own investigations, as I earlier said, regarding any complaint receiving by the public or any person, or their own they can do that way. Also, they can initiate their own way. So it is regarding, as I Vilay said, that the one news, for an example, one news broadcasted by your channel, someone can complain, this is totally against the national security. Someone can say, this is totally against national economic. So on that basis, they can even initiate their own investigation process. Also, someone can complain. Then that committee is going to investigation. After that, the committee makes some kind of a recommendations or the directions to the commission. That is the way. The commission then can decide what they are going to do. Then after that, if they found that this is the investigation, after the going through the investigation, if they found that there is a violations of the license conditions, it is against national security, is some issue regarding the national economy. Anyhow, whatever they mention in the there are code, ethical code, or any other section in the licensing conditions. If there is any issue they found, they can find. No, not they can. After that, they can make a recommendation. You have to follow this one. The final recommendation also, not the committee. That commission has to make the final recommendation. Then you have to follow this one. You have to be. You have to give. They can offer fine. They can say that this is a fine. Also, they can say that yes, basically fine against the institution. Then it is go to the courts, because that fine is up to 5 million, as I remember. Yes. The other thing is that it is also not in the English draft. English bill, it is not. It is silence. But in Sinhala, it says that till 5 million. After summary proceeding trial in the MC, they can establish a 5 million fine, also 1 year jail term.
I'm unfortunately going to have to cut you off there, sir, because we've come against time. We should definitely get into the nitty-gritties of the penalties aspect as well. But before we do any of that, let's take a very short commercial break. You're watching Law, Land and Liberty. Stay with us.
My name is Sahasra and I'm an undergraduate at SLETS. My question is on the future of broadcasting regulations. What reforms can be made to current regulation?
Welcome back to Law, Land and Liberty. We were in discussion with Mr. Viranjana, Herath, attorney at law, and we were talking about the Broadcasting Authority Bill. Now, unfortunately, in the previous segment, I had to cut you short, sir, but we should definitely continue this discussion regarding the penalties and reforms, the penalties and enforcement aspect of the bill. If you could, sir, explain to us further on exactly what is detailed under the penalties.
Yes, penalties after commission found out something there is a violation of the licensing conditions or any other violation, ethical code violation. If they decided that, then they can go through the summary proceedings to the magistrate court, and it can enforce till up to 5 million fine, also 1 year jail term. So it is not only against the institution, the persons who are responsible for that kind of act, whatever. It's totally depend on their contribution to that violation. So this kind of approach is there. It is totally in any condition. We are seeing in Sri Lanka so many people are without any deep analytical inquiries going to be punished like this. If it is going to happen for a channel, what happened? The other thing is that sometimes while according to this bill, sometimes some occasions the commission can suspend the license. It means that it can suspend for 3 months, okay, maybe 6 months. If suppose your channel is going to stop your broadcasting is going to be stopped for 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, Then they, after that they again give you a license, maybe they could give, but the 6 months is then lost everything. So there is an investment side also. So this is the issues relating to that penalty one. Also that, but anyhow, the other side, they said that if someone says someone have some kind of issues, whatever decision made by the commission, they can reach to the Court of Appeal within 30 days. There is some kind of appeal procedure there, but in this act, there is a clear provisions to impose fines and the jail terms. So in that case, we can say this is not for the media freedom. This is not for the protecting freedom of speech and expression.
I see. So there is a discrepancy there when it comes to the protection of media freedom and the freedom of expression, and also the penalties aspect. Well, that is quite a topic of contention, but unfortunately we're going to have to move past it and speak about the reformative aspects as well of the bill. Now, sir, are there areas that, apart from that you've mentioned, that the bill can develop on its already existing foundation? Are there reforms that can be made to the bill? Are there reforms that the bill is making that could be seen in a positive light?
My opinion, this is not a positive light. This bill, I'm always telling, there should be a media regulation system. But we already started the process. I mean that media, broadcasting media. Now it is more than 3-4 decades. I think around 4 decades now. From 80s, we are enjoying that pre-media culture. But it is not the systematic one. There is not a system for regulate broadcasting media. But it is not the fault of the media owners. It is not the fault of people. Got my point? So yes. It is actually, it's totally handled by the government. It's responsible. All governments are responsible for this one. So they did this harm to the country. If now they are going to introduce this bill, then by this bill they are going to introduce some kind of a re-registration system. After this, if this commission established, they have to, all channels have to registration within 6 months. If not, the license should be cancelled. If the channel or any media institution invested big money for that one already. So what happened to them? What are the guarantee for that one? Then this imposes some kind of uncertainty on the industry. So my opinion is that this we can keep this bill away for some time. Then we can start some kind of a discussion process. You know, that kind of a discussion process with all relevant stakeholders, the media owners, journalists, civil society members, MPs, I mean that every people in the society. Then we can say what kind of a regulation we need, how government is going to give a guarantee to existing media stations, what they are going to give them, what they are going to offer to them for their investments, billions of investments. Also, you know that thousands of people are working here. The right to work, even it's not accepted in our as a fundamental right in our constitution. This is also right. So what happened to these people? If some station is going to close because of this kind of uncertainty, this kind of a system. So we have to go through my opinion, we have to keep this one, and then we have to go a deep discussion with all relevant stakeholders. Then we can select what are the what things we can, no doubt about that. We should have a ethical code to regulate media. But if the ethical code violated, if some station is going to violate ethical code, the fine may be okay, but jail term, is it okay? So my opinion, one by one, it's a line by line, we have to reconsider about on this act. If not, then we are going to, that now we have a system, but the system is not clear. There are so many ambiguities on that. Also, it is not the uniformity in that system. But we are going to make a system, we are going to create a systematic methodology, approach to regulate broadcasting media by this act, then result would be very dangerous. It is totally against media freedom, freedom of speech, expression, and also right to thought. That's my opinion. So we have to keep this away for some time, then we have to think and go with all stakeholders and then find a way to establish a new. There are some bills in, as per my knowledge, yes, in 2018, there was a committee, there was a bill for that one. It is actually, it is very good bill rather than this one. It is very clearly address the issues. Also, the appointing system is also very clear, that appointing members for the commission. Then powers of the commission is also very clear. It is very clear one. It is actually the very progressive one rather than this one. This one I cannot say. This is a progressive one. Also, this is not for the suitable for the regulated broadcasting media. That's my opinion.
And finally, sir, are there international parallels that we can draw from for this situation?
Yes, yes, we have that. But my opinion is Sri Lanka as a country, we have our own way, the cultural aspects and our ethnicity and all our society. We have to find our own way, but we can get so many good things, good practices from other countries, even from the Pakistan. They have some kind of authority called PEMBRA, but it is also fine. Approach is also there. It is also very high. We can see that so many institutions have been closed because of that one. So, but there are some good practices in Pakistan, PEMBRA Act also. It's can electronic media regulated. Also, the Indonesia, they have some good practices. Also, we can get some things from the South African system. Also, British system. That I saw some people are saying that we are going to follow the British system. But British broadcasting regulation system, they have an organization called Ofcom. Ofcom is totally regulate broadcasting, private broadcasting media. But in here is also private broadcasting media, but it is not clear what is going to happen the government media station by this bill. So that's why I'm saying that we can take so many things from UK we can get, from South Africa also we can get, the Indonesian system also there are so many good aspects. But we have to find our own way with the deep discussion with all relevant stakeholders. That's I'm stressing always, with all relevant stakeholders. If not, if it is going to be imposed by the government, it is not for the media freedom or not for the people. It is not ensure the freedom of speech and expression or the freedom of thought of the people.
Of course, there is a lot to come into discussion as well. As you mentioned, first there needs to be a roundtable discussion with the stakeholders. So there is a little bit of contention when it comes to the bill, despite the necessity that some claim the bill to have. There is a lot of areas to be addressed, just as you mentioned in this program with us. Thank you very much once again, sir, for taking the time to enlighten our viewers on this topic. And I'm sure a lot of us will walk away tonight with a little bit more understanding on exactly what this Broadcasting Authority Bill is and how it is affecting certain aspects of our lives, even if we are not consciously aware of it. So thank you very much once again for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, the media we consume on a daily basis has an undeniable impact on shaping the way we think and feel. While the regulation of these entities may be a potentially effective means of curbing misinformation, we as the public must be aware of any influence projected onto us. We leave you tonight with the words of Ai Weiwei, who is a Chinese contemporary artist and activist. Freedom of the press, if it means anything at all, means the freedom to criticize and oppose. That is all from us here at Lawland and Liberty. If you missed any of today's programs, you can always rewatch by catching us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/otherthanerenglish. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.